Good morning. It's Friday, weekend eve, July 23rd, Phoebe's birthday. Happy birthday, Phoebe. So, speaking of such things, the drum I did a demo of survived the bisque firing, but I want to talk about my next challenge, which is glazing it. Okay, so normally when I'm doing something small, say a mug, I, I just hold it in tongs and dip it in a bucket. But I don't have a bucket this size. Okay, this is that drum. Okay, and it stayed nice and round because it rode the round disc, which itself rode on top of a thin layer of silica sand. Okay, so the object is bigger than my buckets, and it won't go into one of those big bowls. And you might think, well, could it be unglazed? No, I mean, it's not a food item, but you're going to be touching it, and the rough clay isn't really going to work as well. Rough clay also tends to take up um, dirt from hands, because it's an oily kind of dirt, and so it would inevitably look stained over time. So it needs to be glazed, and I've glazed others. Okay, so this is one I made for my wife. Okay, so what's likely going to happen? Okay, some who know technology say, well, spray it. Well, that only gets to the outside, it doesn't get to the inside. Um, so what's going to likely happen is I dunk it in a bucket like that, and then I dunk it in a bucket like this. And in this case, because it's an open form, there's no air bubble to prevent glaze from coming up inside of it. Okay, there's going to be a point in the center where the two dunkings overlap, and that layer of glaze, being twice as thick, potentially is going to behave differently. It's the rare glaze that doesn't change behavior when it's thicker. Well, fine. Okay, I know that I've got a layer there, and I'm then going to intentionally use a banded sort of decorative scheme um, to either take advantage of that or to disguise that. I could also, glaze it just in a plain glaze or a couple of plain glazes, so that again that place of overlap doesn't much matter. Um, but this drum isn't intended as a gift. I want it to be fancy. I don't want it to just be, the solid blue drum, or worse, the solid black drum, because it's going to take up heat and that's going to be an issue. No, I'm going to try to do it somewhat like the one I did for my wife. Maybe without the gold luster. We'll see. This isn't really the sort of thing I had to have worked out ahead of time. You think, well, of course you knew what you were going to do when you started something this large. Well, yes, I sort of did. But if you're a ceramics person who's thinking of doing something adventurous, you don't necessarily have to solve all the problems from the beginning. In some way, waiting till after they survive the bisque firing is fine, because potentially they won't survive the bisque firing, and then you've got those problems to solve first. Even the issue of having an object that's larger than your kiln, you don't have to solve that problem right away. You obviously have to solve it eventually. Some people have solved it by making the big object and then cutting it in sections that they could fit into their kiln, and then putting it back afterward. Viola Fry did her big sculptures that way. But first, work out first build the object. It has enough challenges. You don't have to solve all the problems on the first day. And maybe the big thing you tried waits for a while to get into a kiln, or never gets into a kiln. Doesn't mean it wasn't a good use of your time or a valuable teaching experience, learning experience. Teach yourself. That's what we have to do, is teach ourselves at a certain point. Have a good day. Happy weekend eve.